We all know what it feels like. We get really motivated to set these really ambitious new goals. We are very excited to get on the path to those goals. And when we start, we're very motivated, but after a while, it starts to get hard and we quit. And then we beat ourselves up and we convince ourselves that it's not worth it and that we're not worth it. And then we don't go back to our goals that we set in the first place. The thing is, it doesn't have to be that way. The best way that I have found to combat that scenario is to understand human nature and make it work in our favor instead of it working against us. That's why in this video, I'm going to share 7 tips to actually stick to your goals even when it gets hard. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jorge Calauz. I'm a business lawyer based in Florida, specializing in high stakes lawsuits. And in this channel, we explore the principles and the strategies to help us live more productive, meaningful, and fulfilling lives. Tip number 1, connect with your why, aka your purpose. I think understanding your why, the reason why you do things, your purpose, the thing that drives you, is single-handedly the most powerful way to stay disciplined and motivated with your goals. Because as human beings, we want to know the reason why we're doing the thing that we're doing. It's very hard for us to just be hardcore disciplined on something when we don't even know why it is that we're doing it. As human beings, we want a certain sense of autonomy and freedom and purpose. And when we lack that, it's very hard to be disciplined and motivated. And so when we tap into the reason why we're doing the thing that it is that we're doing, so for example, are we doing it out of a sense of service for others? Are we doing it out of a desire to dominate and be number one? Are we doing it out of a desire to fulfill a creative pursuit? Are we doing it out of a desire to develop ourselves and be better today than we were yesterday? Connecting with that why is single-handedly the most powerful thing that we can do to stay on track with our goals. Now, one way that we can connect with our why and with our purpose is to do the 7 whys exercise. In the 7 whys exercise, we ask ourselves why 7 times. So we go 7 layers deep into why we're doing the thing that we are doing. And so as an example, I'll take this piece of content that I'm filming right now. Why am I filming this piece of content? Well, because I'm on a schedule. Okay, why am I on a schedule? Because the algorithm rewards consistency. And why does that matter? Because I want the algorithm to work for me. And why do I want the algorithm to work for me? Because I want to reach more people. And why do I want to reach more people? Because I want to impact more people. And why do I want to impact more people? Because I want to be of service to as many people as I possibly can. So now we went 7 layers. I don't actually know how many questions that was, but we went a bunch of layers deep into the actual reason why I'm filming this video. And so when I connect with that why of service to others, it reminds me of why I'm doing this instead of sitting in front of this camera and saying, I don't want to do this. Why am I doing this? This is annoying. I have a deeper reason than just saying, oh, I have to do this. Now, the other thing about purpose is that purpose and your why is strongly linked to your identity. And so when you connect with your purpose, you reaffirm your identity and you crystallize and clear up your identity of who you are. And when you do that, it makes it easier for you to act in accordance with your identity, which is what we always do. But it's hard to do that if we're not really crystal clear on who we are and why we do what we do. Tip number 2, place yourself in the right environment or environments. A while back, a group of scientists put a group of fleas in a jar and then they closed the lid on that jar. Now, obviously, with the lid closed on the jar, the fleas could not jump past where the lid is. But the interesting thing is that once the lid was removed, the fleas still did not jump past where the lid used to be. In other words, an invisible barrier had been formed in the fleas' mind. But what's even more interesting is that the next generation of fleas who had never been exposed to the lid in the first place still did not jump higher than where the lid used to be. In other words, they adopted the beliefs and the limitations of the other fleas in that jar. Now, the solution for those fleas wasn't to try to will their way past the invisible barrier, but rather to be placed in a new jar where the fleas in that jar had never been exposed to a lid. And so the fleas in that jar had the expectations and the belief that they could rise above past that invisible barrier. In other words, for them, there was no invisible barrier. And so if you took the other fleas and put them in that jar, they would eventually adopt the new beliefs and expectations of the fleas in that jar and thus be able to move past the invisible barrier. Now, if connecting with your why and your purpose is single-handedly the most powerful thing you can do to remain consistent, this is like, if that's 1A, this is 1B. Because no matter how hard you try, if you are in a disempowering environment, you will find it almost impossible to succeed. And so making sure you're placing yourself in the right environment with the right people, with positive people that encourage you, with people that are already doing the things that you want to do, that make you realize that it is indeed possible to do these things. Instead of surrounding yourself with the naysayers and the negative people and the judgmental people that are going to continue to bring you down. When you place yourself in the right environment, you significantly increase the chances of your success. And when you place yourself in the wrong, negative, disempowering environment, you make it virtually impossible for you to ever succeed and to ever stick with your goals. Because when things get hard, those negative people are going to tell you, see, I told you it's not worth it. You should just give up. But when it gets hard in the other environment, those people are going to say, no, keep going. I remember what it was like when things got hard for me at that exact point in time that you're in right now. Keep going. Don't worry about it. And that kind of environment will compel you to keep going. Tip number 3, take care of your body. The mind follows the body. Food is fuel for your body and for your mind. If your body is in a good state, your mind will follow and also be in a good state. If your body is in a highly energized, motivated state, your mind will follow and it will also be in a highly energized, highly motivated state. But if you feed your body poorly and your body is in a sluggish and demotivated state, your mind will follow and also be in a sluggish and demotivated state. So that's food, and then you have also sleep, which is vastly important to your health. If you want to learn about exactly how important sleep is, this book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, is fantastic. And number 3 is exercise. Now, exercise has been shown to release various chemicals, 2 of which are number 1, myokines, and number 2, brain-derived neurotropic factor, BDNF, both of which have been shown to be amazing for mental health. And so if you take care of your body, your mind will follow. And if you don't take care of your body, your mind will also follow. Tip number 4, build accountability systems. When we try to achieve our goals by ourselves, it's much harder than when we try to achieve goals with others. And the reason for this is that when it's just ourselves, we can lie to ourselves about what it is we're doing and what it is that we're not doing. But when we're doing it with others, it is much harder to lie to others than it is to lie to ourselves. So if we tell ourselves we're going to do these things and we only do like 60% of it, we can sort of lie to ourselves and convince ourselves that we actually did the things. But when we're doing them with others and we say we're going to do these things and we only do 60% of them, it's so much harder to lie to the other people because they don't have an investment or a stake in you the way that you have an investment and a stake in yourself. They don't have ego mechanisms for you and your accomplishments. And so those self-defense mechanisms won't arise for them when you're talking about your goals. And so they'll call you out, or maybe just let you know kindly that you only did 60% of it. You didn't do 100% of it. Don't lie to me. And so when we know we can't lie, we can't skirt or shapeshift reality, we're much more likely to actually do the thing because there's no easy escape route. And so having these kind of accountability systems, whether it's with friends, with coworkers, with business partners, with a spouse, with a training partner, or whatever it may be, makes it infinitely more likely that you'll achieve your goals. And it creates almost like a never-ending boost of motivation because that accountability is always there and you can't just lie your way out of it. Tip number 5, create and celebrate small wins. Many of us are really bad at celebrating our wins. Especially with social media, we see these people doing these supposedly amazing things and we compare ourselves to those people and then we feel like crap because we're not achieving those things. But the fact of the matter is that number 1, you shouldn't compare yourself to other people because they're at a different stage in a different path than you are. And number 2, a lot of that stuff is fake anyways, and you don't even understand what's actually going on behind the scenes. And so we can focus on just our goals and break them down into smaller goals. When we start achieving those smaller goals, we can create small wins, and small wins build momentum. And the more momentum you have, the harder it's going to be for you to quit or stop. That's kind of a law of physics. I think that's Newton's first law, is that objects in motion stay in motion. And so the more small wins you gain and the more small wins you celebrate, the more momentum you build and the harder it's going to be for you to stop and the more likely it is that you're going to stay in motion and not quit. Now, if you don't know where to start, what small wins you can get, just start with today. Start with tomorrow if you're watching this late at night. Just set a goal or a collection of small goals that you can achieve today or tomorrow. And then when you do those things, even if you do 2 out of 3 of them, you still did 2. 2 is better than 0. So celebrate those wins and start to build momentum that way. It doesn't have to be this massive thing. If you went to the gym, if you ate healthy, if you did literally anything that you wanted to do that is hard to do and that you have been struggling to do, but you did it today, if you're starting to build a new habit and you can tell that that habit is being ingrained in you, that is cause for celebration. Now, don't go out and, party every time you have the smallest win, because then you'll just fry your own dopamine receptors. But take some time to actually acknowledge that you did something that was good and that made you better today than you were yesterday, because that is the whole point of human evolution, is to get better today than we were yesterday. And if you're doing that, you're doing pretty good. Tip number 6, adopt a Kaizen mentality. Kobe Bryant has what he called the Black Mamba mentality. And the way he described the Black Mamba mentality was that it was a mentality of, let me get better today than I was yesterday. Now, this works for 2 reasons. Number 1, when you limit your attention to just today, it narrows your field of focus and removes all other distractions and makes it so much easier for you to focus on the task at hand and not be overwhelmed by all the noise. And number 2, you start to build momentum in the form of small daily wins, which will eventually translate into medium-sized and large wins, which will build even more momentum, and then you keep going like that. But it all starts with today. The moment that you take your mind off today, the moment that you take your mind off the present, is the moment that you take your mind off what you can control. And the moment that you take your mind off what you can control is the moment that you begin to feel overwhelmed and anxious. And finally, tip number 7, force yourself to do things. Now, this one might not sound very useful, but let me explain. No matter how many of these videos you watch, and no matter how many tips and tactics and hacks you adopt into your routine, into your life, there will always come a time where you just do not feel like doing the thing. No matter how evolved you become or enlightened you become, there will always come times where you just don't feel like doing the thing. And you need to have the ability to shut your brain off and just do the thing. Now, you can't do that all the time. If that is the only tactic that you rely on, it won't last. You will burn yourself out and you will quit, which is why you need other things to, take your human nature and make it work for you instead of it working against you. But you will 100% eventually run into situations where there is nothing you can do, and the only thing you can do is shut your brain off and just do the thing. And so you can take these moments where absolutely nothing else is working to train that muscle of shutting off your brain and just doing the thing. I promise you, it is virtually impossible to achieve pretty much any significant goal without having this skill in your arsenal. Now, like I said, this alone is not enough. You cannot rely on this all the time because you will burn yourself out, but you need this in the moments where you need it. Now, if you like this video, I think you'll also enjoy this video on 3 mindset shifts to be effortlessly disciplined. And as always, if you like this kind of content and want to join the community, make sure you subscribe and leave me a comment letting me know what you liked and what you want to see more of. And if you want even more resources, you can check out my website in the link in the description, where you can sign up for my weekly email newsletter, where I send you content like this every Monday via email to get you started for the week, and where you can download my free 4-step morning routine to help you increase your performance and your overall peace of mind. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video.